Tonga, the Springboks at a World Cup. We will win. We will win comfortably. I'm as bullish as I was in 2007 when Jake White, pre-winning the World Cup, rotated his side. Thought it would be a little walk in the park down in Lawns. So did myself and Gavin Rich. The great Gavin Rich, wonderful storyteller, wonderful rugby writer. So Gav and I were based in Bastille. I was based in Bastille. Gav kind of pitched up there and just hung out for 6 weeks on my couch. Okay, and we had a great time because the Boks were based in Gay Paris for most of the time. And Gav said to me, "You know what? I don't know how to repay you outside of the du poulet, the 2 chickens he would buy us every night. But I've bought the tickets on the TGV to go down to Lawns to watch the Springboks play against Tonga." I said, "Thanks. What time is departure?" 0800. It's about 3 hours on the TGV to get there. So Gav and I went on. We had this great Saturday night in Paris. We walked the streets of Paris. We ended up in some crazy establishment at about 0400. Met up with a bloke who looked like Viali, the ex-striker, who took a liking to Gav,
as they do.
And I said to Gav, this guy likes you, mate. He's giving us cigars. And I'm like, I know, mate. So we ended up back at the apartment at probably at about 5:30 in the morning, okay? And I don't smoke, and Gav had a cigar, like a half-chewed, bitten, eaten cigar.
Like Hannibal out of the 80s.
Yeah, I don't even know where we got the mattress from, but we sat down in that lounge room. It was a one-bedroom apartment. I took one puff. I went and felt a bit dizzy. I went and lay on my bed. And when I woke up, it was about 20 to 1 in the afternoon. And I went and woke Gav up. I went and woke Gav up.
This is glorious.
I'm like, Gav, what? I said, what time are the Boks playing? 3 o'clock. How far is it to the TGV? 3 hours. Let's go. I said, Gav, it's 20 to 1. He's like, fuck, 20 to 1. I said, what do we do? He said, I don't know, man. We sleep for another hour and then we go watch it somewhere in a pub in Paris. So we missed the train. Obviously, we never made it to Lawns. And we just thought, okay, it's just one of those routine games.
Yeah.
And but Gav had to do radio crossings for 702 and 567.
Oh my goodness!
Then he had to reenact as if he was there.
No,
it was hilarious. We were in this pub. We watched the game. The Boks struggled 10-7. Jake sent on the whole A-team 6 subs at once. He was the originator of a super sub bench. Got to 27-10. Some of these guys came back. The crowd, 40,069, you tell me were there. That should have been 40,071 because Gav and I weren't there. Paid to go and watch the Boks at the World Cup. We didn't quite make it down there. And then it came down to the last 2-3 minutes, 30-25, and that last kick of the game, it bounces inside, they score, and they win. It bounces outside, we gather, and we kick it out. Obviously, drama and chaos and all that, and there's Gav on the blower, okay, live. Live from Lens. And typical of Gav, I mean, his theatrics are just wonderful.
Yeah, peerless.
The person then asked him, how's the atmosphere? He says, I can hardly hear you. The crowd is going unbelievable. This was all about Tonga today. And the drum beats of Tonga.
Is this in a pub now?
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Unbeknownst to Gav, he had a bit of a fallout with one of the photographers. And the photographer's girlfriend. And she then kind of got hold of her boyfriend, to say, how's the atmosphere there? I'm listening to Gavin on the radio. And he's like, Gavin's not even here. So he had a bit of explaining to do to 702 and 567, but he really did recreate that vibe. So
it was probably better.
It was better. So that's my memory of a very good Tongan side in 2007. That Tongan side went over to 2011, lost the opening game 41-10 to the All Blacks in Auckland. Gav and I were there that night. We made
allegedly.
Yes, with Ryan Freda and John Cardinelli. Took us 4.5 hours from Brains Bay, and also known as Browns Bay, over the Harbour Bridge. And they were a good side, 2007, 2011.
Yeah.
Nothing since then, and really nothing now. We spoke about this pre the World Cup, Zels.
Yes.
Give me the raw!
Oh.
Give me the raw, Ricky.
Ricky's been quiet the last couple of weeks, man. He's been busy with other things. But now, the idea, the challenge of facing the Tongan haka has brought him back to life. I'm back, and I'm so excited to be here. I cannot wait for these Springboks, man, to run into these Pacific Islanders, man. I don't like their red jerseys. I don't like their style. I cannot wait to see what we do to them. Huh?
Thanks for that, Rick. You talk about the red jersey.
Yes.
They could call, the New Zealand Barbarians
true,
play.
mate.
The New Zealand Barbarians play in a red jersey.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the colourblind folks. Yeah.
No. And really, people keep on saying, oh, finally the Islanders are showing up because New Zealand's not taking their players. If you go and look at the statistics, and New Zealand is a Polynesian country.
Correct.
So New Zealand born makes you a New Zealander of whatever heritage, okay? So when it's a Tongan born player who plays for New Zealand, he's a Kiwi. When it's a New Zealand born player who plays for Tonga, he's a Kiwi.
Yeah.
So there's 20 odd New Zealanders who are playing for Tonga, and there's 5 ex-All Blacks. One of them is banned for this game.
How can we
So-
allow these Pacific Island nations to just rape and pillage the New Zealand rugby system?
The All Blacks, that's why the All Blacks are so vulnerable.
I mean, can you imagine how good they would be if they weren't being attacked like this by these...
Well, we made that statistic that 54 of the 78 New Zealand-born players are not playing for the All Blacks. Only 24 of them out of their 33 are there. And then the best props from New Zealand aren't playing for the All Blacks either. And that's where they're a bit vulnerable. One prop that did play for the All Blacks,
Well, I don't know if you really call him one, mate. He's
Yeah.
big enough to be 3.
the Big Ben,
Yeah.
he's been charismatic.
Oh.
He scored a wonderful try against Scotland. It was Lomu-like. He just kept on going and going and going. So when we talk about the Bok pack having to be physical to front the biggest pack at the World Cup, they're fronting the biggest prop at the World Cup because he is a pack on his own.
There's space for 2 heads on that shoulder. Yeah, no, I mean,
And that neck,
he's a monster.
barrel.
And he can move, eh? He can move. For an oak, look, he doesn't have a lot of contributions, but for an oak that size, how do you stop that thing when it gets moving? You need proper brakes there.
You stop him with an 86-minute game. He's never going to make it to that. I ragged him, said he went on social media, said he wouldn't get past 45 minutes. But someone then told me, but he got to 70 minutes against Scotland. And then
Was Scotland, mate?
what kind of 70 did he produce?
Exactly.
What was his effective tackle
Exactly,
contribution?
mate. Yeah.
What did his GPS show?
That thing was underwater, mate. Tangled in hair and water.
What did it say? But Tonga, the people's favorite, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of big name players, but kind of like yesterday's heroes.
It's like a dad's team.
Yeah, like a
I mean,
granddad's team.
It's like an old boys, if the All Blacks put like an old boys team together, you kind of think it would look something like that.
Well, these guys should be at the Bermuda Veterans.
That's exactly right.
They
But
should be-
they are an old team. I think, we joke about this, mate. When they played on the weekend, my wee little one was watching, and they were putting the profiles up. And she said, Dad, only 2 of these guys are in their 20s. Everybody else is 30 plus. I don't know where that came from. She's a genius, mate.
I mean,
but
but 8 years old, and she's understanding.
They're all like in their 30s.
ages
Can
when
you
she's
believe
looking
it?
at that thing.
crazy.
She's looking at ages. She's not even looking at faces.
Exactly.
Incredible, eh?
She loves Stephen Kicksoff. Stephen Kicksoff is her favorite.
Wonderful, eh?
Yeah.
Especially the way he restarts.
Exactly right.
But if you look at that Tonga, Charles Piutau, basically probably a year out from his peak with the All Blacks,
Yeah.
decided to take the moolah, go north, and look after his family. He's been a wonderful player in France, been a wonderful player in the UK with Bristol, not France, he was with Ulster and then with Bristol. And at one stage, the highest paid rugby player in the world. But he's past it. I mean, he's still a wonderful club player, but he's no longer a test player. I mean, Izzy Folau, he kind of saw the writing on the wall before the World Cup. Fakatau, we saw decent in playing for Munster,
Yeah.
but nowhere near All Black standard. Pule, the 9, would never make the All Blacks. Big Ben, he's not going to make the All Blacks. And Fiatir's been banned. And I saw he got the red card. But he missed 10 tackles. That was his biggest contribution against Scotland. He must have missed them on Duan van der Merwe, who beat 14 defenders. Fiatir 10 times.
Going sideways.
So,
Yeah.
Look, it's going to be a physical game. Any kind of match against any one of the Pacific Islanders teams is based on a few container tackles. Thank God Brian Lima's not around in this World Cup to be the chiropractor. But realistically, you look at that Boks setup, you look at that Tongan setup, it's got to be 30 plus points for the Boks and a bonus point.
Yes. That would be my call. I think what makes this match interesting is that the Boks will know exactly what they have to do from a points difference perspective because Scotland will have played the night before. So the Boks have a 70 plus points difference advantage over Scotland. Scotland play Romania and then the Boks play Tonga. And so the Boks will know, okay, listen, this is where we're at, this is what we've got to do. On paper, that's a great thing. I think going into a match in the context of having some question marks about the efficiency of our line-out with the guys that they've chosen at hooker, and then Pollard coming back from the fridge to start at 10 and be the goal kicker, there's the potential for, lump in the throat stuff because...
you taking us back to Lens?
No, mate. I'm not saying that they won't beat Tonga. I'm saying that if they go out and they realize, geez, we need to put 50 points on these guys, that adds a layer of pressure to the game that a group that isn't... doesn't have a hell of a lot of continuity in some positions and some question marks at key stuff. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to watching this and how they respond to that.
Look, they picked a kind of Boks team that they say is based on physicality. They've been Jacques Nienaber and Rossi Rasmus. I think any Boks team you put out there is based on physicality. The one thing that Kwagga Smith said was, we're going to chase the bonus point victory. I've never seen a Boks team that's effective chasing anything. I've seen a Boks team that's effective that builds a scoreboard lead.
You get the other team chasing, the Boks are unstoppable.
And then runs away with it, okay?
Spot on.
And when I look at the quality of that 23 that's out there, granted, we got two flankers playing as two hookers, but then I look at what they've got playing. Come on.
100%.
Which one of their 23 would you pick in our side? You wouldn't pick one of them.
Yeah.
And they're not conditioned. They're conditioned to go 60 minutes. And they are the poorest of the three Pacific Island teams there.
Yes.
They haven't kicked on from 2007 and 2011. And I think if the Boks just play intelligent rugby, they play field position, they start getting the maul going, they start keeping it tight because Tonga wants it to get loose.
Absolutely.
They want they want that
and the Boks
barbarians type game. With Pollard there, they're not going to get that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The key there is for Pollard to get 60 minutes, to get 6 kicks in front of the poles. Then we can say he's 6 from 6, and then poor Marnie comes on, he misses 2 from the corner. See? Blokes say, look at Marnie, he can't kick it. So, I think you're going to see 60 minutes from Pollard, or maybe even 50 minutes from Pollard, and potentially 10 minutes at centre or something like that, and Marnie slotting in at 10. I think they may play around with that depending on how the game flow is.
Yes.
But they'll also be mindful to kind of manage Pollard's game time because he now becomes critical for that playoff game. Dion Fourie starting at hooker, Marco van Staden as the backup hooker. I put it out to the many people out there, the wonderful fans that are the Boks fans. And playing devil's advocate, I asked, what does it say to every hooker professionally in this country or anywhere in the world that qualifies for the Springboks that 2 and 3 for the Springboks at the 2023 World Cup are 2 open side flankers, one of them 38 years old?
What it says is the plan was not for Malcolm Marx to get injured. That's what it says. I mean, it's
what does it say to Joseph de Weber?
Exactly, mate.
To Grobbies?
Exactly.
That's about it. Anything.
To AC Kermans van der Merwe, mate. Well,
Akker.
Yeah. I mean, there's a guy I would have looked at long ago, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he's back in South Africa, but he hasn't been in the system at all. But I can see that guy definitely being in the mix next year. Akker van der Merwe, another the van der Merwe brothers. Be great to see them going against each other in a test match. Be like being back in George in the back garden.
Akker climbing into Duan's pocket.
I'm backing Akker to knock the crap out of him as well.
Absolutely, mate. But not score as many tries.
He won't score as many tries, but I can tell you, I don't think he's getting past his bush.
Yeah.
That warthog will take him out big time.
Absolutely.
So we spoke about it earlier in the week, Zels.
Yes.
And I confirmed with Riki, and he was in agreement, okay, that this is a game of, first and foremost, Pollard's got to get through it.
Yes.
Then secondly, no injuries. And then thirdly, just get the bonus point win and sit back and watch. Because Scotland's not going to do Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if they do, well, Ireland's not going to be on the playoffs. So I'm taking the Ireland will win this. And that Scotland will be brave. Heard that before in the history. And look at them on the hills coming through the mountains. They'll be very brave. And it will be the Boks that comfortably cruise through. The thing that's amazed me about this World Cup, as always happens at World Cups, is how quickly and easily the public gets so hoodwinked. So I was at my favorite place, my local, Carlisle's in Derry Street, Cape Town. Pop in there if you want. This is brought to you by Carlisle's. And their chicken livers are amazing, I must tell you. And I was there with Money Man, a.k.a. Kevin Ferguson, owner of SA Rugby magazine, and Betty Man extraordinaire, told me I gave SA Rugby magazine's editor Zels a beating in our podcast. Guy didn't know the odds. I said, he asked me if I'd seen the show. I said I hadn't, and I didn't know if I would because I never watch these shows. So why would I watch these shows? He said, you better watch it. And you'll learn something because he's quite bullish that he got the Irish game right. And I can't argue with that. He got the All Blacks in Mount Smart right. I can't argue with that.
Correct.
The two that we've got wrong this year. I didn't want to remind him of the 9 I got right because it doesn't really matter. Okay, but one of our favourite guys who works there looked up at me and he said, do you think the All Blacks can beat Italy? And I was like, at what? Like, what are you talking about? I said, do you think we can beat Tonga? Oh, yes. I said, are you telling me that you are questioning whether the All Blacks can beat Italy?
Mate, they're not competing and making pizzas. It's rugby.
It's the world gone mad, okay? And then I get this, how unlucky Namibia were. Namibia were 14 points up, 26-12 up, 2 yellow cards and a red card. Disgusting. Disgraceful performance to lose to Uruguay 36-26. Chile losing by 30 points. Oh, what a wonderful display. Patronizing. The Minnows have been a disaster at this. Outside of Uruguay's little comfort effort against a French second team, there's been nothing. When everyone raved about Portugal, what they played, Wales' third team. The Minnows should be playing in their own division. Strength against strength. And we saw that when Georgia played Portugal. We saw that to a degree. Namibia against Uruguay. 49,000 people watching that game, and it was a contest. It was a rugby contest. There is absolutely no gain from Namibia losing 96-0 to France losing 71-3, Romania losing 83-8, to Ireland losing 76-0 to the Springboks, and they'll take a big one against Scotland. What gain has there been for the growth of world rugby?
Spot on.
And then Namibia has to play 4 games in 18 days, and France plays 4 games in 30 days. But it's not weighted against Tier 2 countries. Then every Tier 1 bloke, top 5 team who gets bunkered, it's either rescinded or it's 3 weeks down to 2 weeks for a head clash or a tackle. Straight up, 6 weeks for the Namibian captain, Johan Deisel. 5 weeks for Fiotia, the former All Black who plays for Tonga. No, just absolutely no mitigation. Decision made very quickly, and the same incident not even punished in another match. The Chilean coach said it. This is just absurdity.
Absolute absurdity. Preach.
He's left speechless.
So, I mean, everything you say is spot on. And
disagree with me.
Rugby people must accept what they've asked for, and they must accept what they get. Because, as you know, I'm a huge NFL fan. They've only ever played that league in one country. Okay? They started the thing in the 60s. It's worth $10 billion. Yes, they've expanded. They're now 32 teams. They were 28 when I started watching. The point is, and now they're mucking about with these games in London and Europe. And
Senior guys, sorry, this
greed
is a rugby
coming
show,
in.
okay?
So I'm getting to a point.
Yeah, please.
So what I'm saying is this rugby's obsession with we have to grow the game, okay? This is what you get when you try and grow the game with no base. At the end of the day, you've got teams in the UK that are going into liquidation. You've got massive issues around this game across the board. This idea that everybody must be at the level. like it is in soccer. You can't compare those two sports because football is generally more accessible across the planet, easier to play, doesn't have grey rules, doesn't require a TMO bunker, etc., etc. So the point I'm trying to make is this. This is what happens when you spread a game and fudge the lines where oaks who weren't even born in the country are now representing the country at a World Cup. This is the chaos that it creates. And now you have an environment where minnows come to a World Cup, get smashed by teams that they should never be playing. That there should be a tier 2 competition. The World Cup should be a smaller one. Should be 10 teams with 2 teams from the tier 2s that qualify to play in a 12-team tournament. Have the minnows play every 2 years in their own mini World Cup. Broadcast the crap out of that, promote it, hype it. The quality will be great. As you see in sevens, when you put a lot of average players on a field together, the average fan can't tell the difference between the speed of that game and the speed of the serious guys until you put John Alomo on the field with everybody and they go, oh, this is the level. So put the tier 2 guys together, make that a product, celebrate them, let them share in that revenue to help their programs, keep the World Cup much smaller competition, have 2 of those guys, the finalists, qualify for the World Cup every 4 years.
So you saying potentially a 12 team that goes to the World Cup, 2 pools of 6, 5 matches, semi-final, final.
Bingo.
And top 10 gets in there, 11 to 20 play out to see the other 2 positions. But your second tier competition runs consistently and that kind of stuff. So your time span in your games will just be more intense.
Yeah.
Because this World Cup, I mean, I'm not in France, but it doesn't really matter. From our mates who are there, mate, they say the game is great on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Great atmosphere, and then for a week no one talks about it. There's no like rugby here outside of that. It's just travel time and do whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a broadcast spectacle and a tournament that could have been played in 4 weeks, not in 7.
Yeah.
They should have had like the Boks playing Romania on a Tuesday and playing their big game on a Saturday, and that would force different selections as well.
Big time. We changed it completely. But what rugby's done now is, over the last 20 years, is they've traded that traditional audience of die-hard rugby fans who care about the game for the more fickle weekend warrior who's going to get pulled in by a great highlight and a little bit of a hype video. And the problem with that is that those fans don't stick around. You have to keep chasing them because they don't really care about rugby. So that's why you see the punishment for hurting a superstar like DuPont is massive. Right? It's not about Dazel's action. It's about he hurt DuPont, and that hurts the World Cup, and that hurts the bottom line. You must pay.
Okay, but now we've spoken ad nauseum about my voice, Barry White, Johnny Fever. Excuse me, guys, sinuses, okay? And throat infections. Distaste for World Rugby as well. If you look at the World Cup, player safety, accidental head collision, 3 weeks, 5 weeks out of the World Cup. Antoine DuPont should be out of the game for 3 months, at least. A fractured cheekbone. He's training. They're going to fit a mask on his face. Now, what happens when he ducks into the first tackle? Is some guy going to get 12 weeks for that?
What percentage of suspensions are shorter than the time the guy who's the victim is out of the game?
Well, he's been out of the game for 10 days because he's back training.
There we go.
And everyone's talking about this miracle return. But what about player safety? That's the equivalent of sending a bloke back on who's just tested for concussion.
Like Arnold.
And everyone's talking about his bravery. I think it's absolute stupidity in the context of this guy's life.
Big
and the
time.
potential dangers that there is to him. You go back in the days of the 70s, 80s, especially rugby league, you see these guys getting two tons of crap knocked out of them, concussed, lying there, smelling salts. The guy gets up and he plays, and everyone's like, what a hero. He doesn't remember his name today. Mm-hmm. And that's not because of concussion. That's because of a couple of V's.
What I will say, though, is thank goodness the world hasn't got to the bubble wrap state where the decision is not DuPont's. I think it's crazy, okay? I'm not saying I could have played, but there's no chance that I would choose to be in a situation like that, right? But if this kid decides that that's what he wants, if it's worth it to him, he should absolutely have the right to decide whether he wants to play or not. And rugby needs to get away from being the police and being the headmaster and being in charge. The West is not communist. You have the decision. Choose wisely.
Okay, but now if you're the opposition, let's take France are going to play us. Don't you want DuPont in that first little breakdown? Don't you want to pull that little scrum off in and give that Staffy a little short one, a little short jab to that jaw and to that cheekbone?
Mate.
Is he not just an obvious target?
Look, I think if people could get hold of DuPont, he wouldn't be the world's best player. The problem is, how do you get your hands? It's like Messi, mate. How do you kick his legs out?
Oh, mate, when you're up against some of those big South Africans,
They will.
they will. No, look, I love Antoine Dupont, Intermac. I think the best 10 in the world.
Great players.
It was it's just so sad when he was ruled out of the World Cup. When I saw Dupont wander off, it's like, oh, come on. You want your best players at the World Cup, and as a team that's playing them, you want to beat the best potential French team and not say, well, if we had person X, Y, and Z, then it would have been different.
Yeah.
I just think the context and of all this nonsense about everything is geared towards supposed player safety. Now, and
That's
head
the
clash.
point.
But when I look at some of those clean outs into the back, into the ribs, into the kind of just below the shoulder area, into the knees from the side, there's far more damage than an accidental head clash.
Of course there
So
is.
if we're talking player safety, let's apply
Mate, did you see
it
that-
across the board.
Did you see the yellow card in Uruguay last night? The Namibian oak carrying the ball.
Mate, you're assuming I watched that game.
Who would miss that one? The Namibian oak carries the ball into the Uruguayan guy, right? So,
Are you telling me you watched that game?
yeah, I did. And
Jesus.
as he's getting towards the contact situation, he ducks down and headbutts the defender. Okay, head to head, and the defender goes, mate. Why? Because he's carrying a ball. If you swap the ball to the other dude, the Namibian guy's gone. It's a circus, mate. This whole safety thing is a circus. Nobody wants to see players get unnecessarily injured. Nobody wants to see guys dead or paralyzed, obviously. But this idea that you can make rugby safe, we've spoken about it ad nauseum. It's a joke. This is not about safety. It's about control.
It's
taking
also
over the game.
about potential lawsuits that are coming
Mate,
post careers.
I mean, I think that's what they tell people. But where are these thousands of people? After 25 years of professional rugby, almost 30 years of professional rugby, A, where are all the dead bodies? And B, where's the thousands of disgruntled players? The guys who are in these court cases are guys who
Well,
lies.
someone could say that the disgruntled player can't remember he was disgruntled.
Those guys are prime candidates for this court case, mate.
I know what's going to happen now. Someone's going to say to me, "How can you be so crass?"
Oh.
And then they're going to haul out some shocking stories. Carl Heyman, Steve Thompson, and that's all yet to be proven that it's from
Rugby. Exacto.
Exacto.
And,
someone like Carl has especially been forthcoming in his book about his addictions and his
correct, mate.
alcohol abuse and
Rugby didn't make him get on the bike a couple of weeks back, mate.
yeah, and so we take any player safety issue seriously, and I
Yeah.
mean if there's malice in a tackle or if there's just absolute thuggery, go. But you go back to the game as it once was.
If this isn't safe enough, my goodness.
There's that clip, and we'll get our great producer, videographer, Imad Griffiths.
The Immaculate Imad.
Yes, Imad Griffiths, who does have Welsh in him and was very happy as well. And he's going to show this clip now of Wales against South Africa.
Yes, mate.
And it's just a wonderful clean out by, it looks like Willie Meyer.
Robbie Fleck's best game, mate.
And Robbie Fleck gets in the
you
punch.
see?
Bronfman Straten
Gets
with the
that
clean
punch
out.
in, mate.
There's today's game. There's
Never
three
been
yellow cards upgraded to red cards. 6 weeks entry. South Africa got the penalty back then, and I was at that game.
Yeah.
Glorious kind of combat and aggression and contact. And the more you kind of allow that, the less injuries there were, and guys just got on with it. And rugby needed a good couple of punches. I mean, that's kind of what brought people
And
to the
look,
game.
I'm not saying the sport should condone fighting. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, why not?
I'm saying the sport sanctions that. You get a penalty. It's not like the sport just says play on. There's a penalty for foul play. That's the point. The sport does not encourage foul play. It discourages foul play. And again, we're taking the mickey here. Obviously, we want the best for everybody that's involved in the game. But
I'm not taking the mickey, mate.
But
I'm saying I wouldn't mind a game where the guys are allowed to, like in the dark arts, like put one in there.
yeah, no. Well,
Nothing more beautiful than a short little
nobody
uppercut,
was
eh?
ever allowed to do it. I'm saying that is the nature of the game. And so that is rugby. And it's still happening. You just don't see it as much, and they've reduced the amount of that sort of stuff, and good for that. Because you don't want that in the club scene, and you don't want that at the schoolboy level. I'm not condoning Oaks punching each other in the head. What I'm saying is rugby is a physical sport, and when you try and go in at full speed to knock somebody over who's carrying a ball towards you, bad things happen. That is a reality. Rugby must live with that, or they must just check out and say, thanks for watching. It's time to go to badminton.
With a shuttlecock.
Exactly. Mate, did you say shuttlecock?
Looking at rugby, and they're trying to sanitize the game, and it's turned into rugby league with structured defenses. We talk about contact and physicality. Bring back rucking, just not on the head.
Exactly.
Now, you'll take out those wonderful fetchers in the game very quickly because they'll have nothing left on their back. And if the rucking is allowed back in the game, the speed of the delivery of the ball comes back into the game.
Look, that's debatable, but let's say this.
Why do you say it's debatable?
Okay, so let's say this. First of all, I think bringing back rucking will actually make the game safer, okay? So, yes, you get a couple of stud marks on your back. Terrible, okay? But because that pressure isn't on the guys arriving at the breakdown to go and protect at the breakdown, Oaks are flying in like missiles, and there's lots of head-to-head at breakdown situation, shoulders to head, etc., etc. If you can clean out a guy, if people were discouraged from hanging around the ball to buy time for the first arrivals to come and get over it, I think that would clean up the breakdown to some extent. And it especially today. I mean, today's Oaks aren't going to hang around with those freaking Adidas Prime blades getting raked across their back. It'd clean it up massively.
Really not the ones that the Springboks play with. You asked Tyrell Lomax.
I was going to say. I mean, Damien Willemse would slice Oaks up.
So are you, like, I'm a big fan of, and I've been calling it for many years, obviously World Rugby doesn't listen to me.
Yes.
For the return of rucking, the head out the equation. But if the guy's on the wrong side, you ruck everything out of his back.
Get rid of him.
And that shows he shouldn't be there. And the
rid
game
of
will
him.
be faster.
Absolutely.
Now, what's the difference to that, to some of the cleanups I see?
That's what I'm just saying.
When the ball's already won, 9 is
Exactly.
holding it, some guy who's relaxed his body is there. This guy comes flying in like a missile into his ribs, into his lower back, and it's play on.
Correct.
How has that come into the game?
Exacto, mate. We're on the same page. I agree.
I like to know we're on the same page, mate.
Yes, mate.
World Rugby, let's make it a safer game, but let's make it a more realistic, safer game. This is a contact sport. It's not ballet, as Heineke Meyer used to say. And it's not a very politically correct thing to say, but my God, rugby was a game where you went down at club level, provincial level, and you wanted to see the odd short right into an irritating lock's jaw. And you wanted to see him stitched up and back on the field. Everyone wanted a good little bit of, not handbags, not tiddlywinks, as Tano Umaga used to say. They wanted to see a little bit of proper aggression.
Sure.
What do you say about that?
No, look, I'm definitely not promoting Oaks throwing haymakers, but I am promoting Oaks laying into each other within the laws of the game, and sometimes you get it wrong. You know, you tackle high, and it's a mistake. And then it should be a penalty. This thing where we've got to send somebody off and suspend them and send them for reprogramming at tackle school. Are you mad? What are we doing?
What is this tackle school like?
Who are these bastions at the tackle school who've never got it wrong, and they're going to teach you how to... Are you mad? These Oaks...
But what is tackle school? Where do they go?
They go there. I don't physically know where it is in the world.
It's near Rukanda.
But there'll be some bloke there, mate, who...
it's like a Harry Potter movie.
Exactly.
You go to tackle school.
For reprogramming. Jeez.
And then you get 1 week off.
I mean...
Now, what happens if a player says, I'm not going to tackle school?
Yeah, then you don't get that week off.
And no, but I'm saying, I'm not going to tackle school.
Yeah. That's how it should be. I think some guys have done that. Some guys have said, no, I'm not going to tackle school. The fact that they think that some ob guy who's a tackle coach on the side is going to change what happened in that situation, which is incidental. There's millions of moving parts in that context situation. We're not talking about dealing with the serial offender here. We're saying bad things happen. Like...
Okay, contextualize this World Cup to me. Where have the gains been in terms of what they want to apply, and where do you think it's just absurdity?
Are you talking about it from a law's perspective?
A law's perspective, application of a red card, yellow card, safety, all that kind of stuff. Have we advanced anything, or is it more confusion?
No, it's all semantics. It's more confusion. And to be frank, I am surprised and disappointed that the players have allowed it to get to this stage.
I thought you were Ricky, not Frank, but that's fine. Yes! But if you want to be frank, okay.
Hey, Frank from Brooklyn, he's down next week, okay? So, I'm surprised the players have allowed it to get to this point. We enjoyed that too much. At some point, the players are going to go, you know what, this is actually impacting on my welfare. I could be Johan Deisel in this situation, and quite frankly, I've had enough of it. The players didn't have any difficulty in other sports striking when the administration got out of hand. At some point, these rugby players need to find their spine and say, you know what, this is not what this game is, and it's time to change it back.
All right, Frank, I got to reel you in there. All Blacks up against Italy. Started the show by saying,
mate, I don't
can
know. Which
the
way
All
will it
Blacks,
go?
Can the All Blacks actually beat Italy? If they don't beat them by 30 points, then this is absolutely confirmed. Worst All Black team in history to go to a World Cup. I looked at that 23 as well, and I thought, fantastic back division. No real loose forwards in terms of a combination. An oldie, Sam Whitelock on the bench, breaking the mighty Macau's record, 149 tests, and 250-plus test props who have never done it, starting. It's what sums it up, New Zealand rugby, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think they've gone back to Geordie Barrett. First of all, let me say, losing to France at the 99 World Cup, getting ambushed like that, that's one thing. You lose to Italy as the All Blacks, mate.
When you've had 2 weeks to prepare.
That country will sink half a metre, mate.
When you've had 2 weeks to prepare.
No.
The fact that people are even talking that it's a possibility.
An impossibility. I'm surprised they've gone back to Geordie Barrett at 12. Because I don't think their pack has suddenly found the mongrel that's required to dominate big teams. Geordie Barrett's a great player, and he adds unique tactical value at 12, but I don't think it's what they need. I don't know whether it's just because it's Italy, or if that's the way they're going forward, going to the rest of the competition. But that's a surprise call for me. But yeah, I think they'll dominate Italy. I don't think they'll have any difficulty with it.
Dane Coles and Sam Whitelock on the bench. My God. Great servants of New Zealand rugby. Wonderful players in their prime. Great achievement for Sam to get to 149 tests. He'll play 150 against Uruguay or in the playoffs if they get there. It's just... I thought he was gone in 2015, let alone 2019, and he's still there. How is it a country like New Zealand, with all those farmers and such a big Pacific Island kind of contribution, can't produce locks?
Absolutely. That's a great question. That lack of depth there is very surprising. I mean, Tupou Vaa'i is the backup. I mean, wow. Sure. Right. That's a tall tennis player. I don't know. I don't know, mate. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, I think New Zealand rugby, and look, this team is not a consequence of it in terms of the players that are available, but I think New Zealand rugby has always had a tendency to drift towards the basketball game. And I think South African rugby deserves a lot of respect and credit for adding the hard edge that the All Blacks needed to be as dominant as they've been in the professional era. I'm not saying we are responsible for their success. I'm just saying having a good sparring partner brings the best out of the best fighters.
Well, James Ryan, the All Black assistant and forward coach, was wonderful with Scotty Robinson at the Crusaders. Also hardened the Fijian pack when he was assisting Vern Cotter. He says actually South Africa is the reason New Zealand was so good. Playing in Super Rugby, hardened their forwards, made them pick a different type of pack, not just basketballers. A tight five. And with South Africa not there, with them not travelling to the Republic as they call it, their players don't get that test match intensity. And then they play Bledisloe Cup rugby, which is Harlem Globetrotter stuff. Wonderful on the eye.
Yeah.
Come on.
And look, you know better than me, but at the lower levels there, they've got that whole weight grade rugby, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be good for separating the men from the boys. It's great for the skills.
Yeah.
But how that brings out the next Bucky's Boerter is debatable. And I mean, across the board, we've spoken about England, the UK, their structures, how it's very skills-based until you're basically a teenager. You never make up that time against South African Oaks who've been tackling since they could breathe.
I'm so surprised that there hasn't been a concerted Irish-type project development, that the scouts haven't come out to South Africa, seen who's disenchanted with this country, taken the whole family over when the kid's 17 or 18, and in 3 years' time he's playing for the All Blacks. I thought we'd see at least 3 or 4 South African born and raised players in the All Blacks by now.
Yeah.
They've missed a trick there, as have Australia. New Zealand, I've got them to win by 30. Your call there?
Yeah, I'd say 30 plus. I think probably, maybe a bit of a tight opening 20, and then the All Blacks just pull away.
The bookies have them by 28, I think.
Yeah.
That's the spread.
Yeah.
I've got them to win by 30. I've got a 45-15 win for the Boks against Tonga.
45-15, you say?
45-15, mate. That's a 30-pointer. What's that? Huh?
So to speak.
So to speak. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it goes that way. 45-15 sounds great.
Are you doubting the Springboks?
Mate, I'm saying, mate, they may struggle to swallow. When they kick
What does that mean they may struggle to swallow?
When they kick
Are
out.
you speaking in code?
Pollard misses the first penalty. They put the ball out to touch. The line out skew, mate.
You
There is
assuming
no more.
Pollard's having a kick at goal?
Yeah, true. Then it's like, shit, we've been doing this for 15 minutes. We haven't scored a point. Now what?
Okay.
Let's counterattack, guys. Tonga says, yes, let's counterattack.
Yeah, and Ben T just can't make it past 10 yards because he's running out of puff. I understood what you said, that Rusty and Jock are playing on their, with their food and you had enough of it.
Yeah.
Many people got that as well.
Yes.
But struggling to swallow, just articulate that for
So
me.
they're choking, right? When you get into a situation, hey, you talk up a great game you're at a pub, or Oak knocks you on the shoulder. You say, hey, what you doing, bud? Let's take this outside. When you go outside, you realize he's 7 foot tall. And then you can't really breathe right? Because you understand, hang on a minute, this isn't going to play out the way I thought it was going to play out.
Well, no, that's not choking. That's just being kind of like, that's just being in fear. It's when the 7 foot tall bloke looks down and realizes that this guy is a karate master, he starts choking.
Exactly. That's actually the better analogy, yes.
So
absolutely.
We are too good to lose this
We
game.
will win the game. It's not about winning the game. We will win the game. There's no doubt we'll win the game and we'll win it comfortably. I just hope we can put 45 points on these guys and bank the bonus
Okay,
point.
so Ireland won 59-16, comfortably. 45...
Ireland have got two hookers. that can throw in.
45-17 comfortably for Scotland. It was 24-17 on 55 minutes. If we don't put them away, we shouldn't be playing in the quarterfinals. Okay,
Exactly.
You can't say how brilliant the squad was against Ireland, and it's a game they didn't really mind losing, and now you're shitting yourself. Can we really get the points against Tonga? You're being atypical South African.
Okay.
Where's the negativity, mate?
No, listen, mate. Listen. This is what I'm saying. You get a Formula One car. It's the fastest car. It's a Ferrari, right? Now, when you get to the race, you realize you don't have a steering wheel, using a wrench for the steering wheel, okay? Then it doesn't matter how fast the car is. You can't turn it. And so, yes, this thing about the team is great. The Boks are great. But if you don't win your lineouts and you don't kick your points, you're in a bit of trouble. And all I'm saying is they will solve that in the game and they will win it. But I don't know what impact that has on the margin of victory and perhaps a little bit of panic sitting in like, hey, guys, this is a lineout issue we've got here, and I don't know if we can solve it.
Okay, very different. Coming on against a very good Irish team.
Yes.
And under pressure,
Spot
pop it
on.
in, skew Dion Fourie.
Which is why they lost.
Hasn't chucked. No, I wouldn't say that's why they lost. That's a big.
No.
call.
I mean,
That's a sweeping statement. Come
No,
on.
I'm not saying they lost because of
Eh?
Dion Fourie. I'm not saying they lost because of Dion Fourie.
Okay, well, you just said that's why they lost from the one throw.
No, I'm saying in that game, you're saying it's very different, and I'm saying yes, it
missed
is
one.
different. But they
One
lost.
out of 5.
They lost that game.
He missed one
They
out
only
of 5.
scored 8 points. We're saying they're going to score 45 this week.
Yeah, they're playing Tonga, not Ireland, okay?
True.
So the point here is, you've got Eben Etzebeth.
Yes.
One of the great locks of World Rugby.
Greatest. Why is he playing?
Okay. Well, they need to get in some game time. They also need to get his confidence back after James Lowe kept him in the air.
Mate.
He's not happy about that.
No.
Dion Fourie will just whack it into the front
of the
ball.
line-out.
It's a safe ball. They'll get him 3 pops there. We'll say this guy's magnificent. He'll get confidence. He'll get the roll on. So I'm not concerned about Dion
Okay.
Fourie for this game.
Great.
It'd be very different if it was Dion Fourie starting in a quarterfinal against one of the top teams in the world,
Agreed.
like a France,
Agreed.
who's got a good pack, or even a New Zealand who could disrupt there. So
So let me ask you this. What did Ireland beat Tonga by? What was the score?
59-16.
Okay. And you saying we could have beaten Ireland, and this is nothing like Ireland, it's Tonga. Why aren't you giving the Boks 70 points?
because it's the Boks mix and match second team. Your answer to that?
Well, mate,
Come, wise guy.
they've got Eben.
Come on, wise guy.
Stephen Kickoff is on the bench.
Come on, wise guy.
You're not worried about Dion Fourie. They got Andre Pollard.
They're not going to play the type of game that puts 70 on them. They're going to play a very much percentage-based scoreboard pressure game. 45-15. You heard it first here. I go and visit the Money Man's page, and he'll give you the proper odds. I've asked him for the lotto numbers as well. He's on a roll at the moment. Okay?
Yes, he is.
He's on a roll, and I haven't yet watched the show, but if he did give Zels a slapping, let me know. If you think Zels was good in his responses, let me know. What I do know is that Zels couldn't answer who was going to be in the semi-finals because he didn't actually know who was going to be in the quarterfinals yet. But that there was consistency that the Boks would still win the World Cup. Okay?
Yes.
So I'm still like happy that the bookies are saying the Boks are odds-on favourite.
Yes.
Ireland second favourite and France third. I think if Dupont comes back and he gets through a quarterfinal, well, that would eliminate one of the other two in any case. Then France will be back in the mix. But I'm still saying it's Ireland and South Africa, what we've seen, two best teams at the World Cup.
Agreed.
And that level intensity of the game they played last weekend is World Cup final type rugger. We're not going to see that intensity this weekend. We're going to see the Boks win comfortably, even though Ricky's a little bit nervous. he feels that I struggle to swallow. Okay, I don't know where he's getting this. How do you get this faith in a Tongan team that took 45-17 and 59-16? How are they being talked up?
No, it's got nothing to do with Tonga.
Did you see what Duan van der Merwe did to them? He beat 14 defenders.
I like how he shared his lunch with them, mate.
Huh? It's only
Ribs
what's
for everyone.
Did you see that try that he set up where he took his opposite number and basically tossed him around like a Lomu-like. Then he just swatted the number 8. Then he just swatted someone else, and then he just gave the ball to the replacement replacement Horn and went over and scored. I mean, that was just great play. Now, look at some of our forwards. They can do the Duan van der Merwe stuff. So I'm not giving Tonga any form of goodwill when it comes to this game because they haven't earned the right to have it. They've been hammered by two teams, and to say anything less would be very patronising towards them. They're blokes who are club players. They're not good enough to be playing against the Springbok side and actually threatening them. Okay.
Kane and Moody, big day.
Okay, I was going to ask you before we wrap up. Who's the big winner here?
Kane
Andre
and
the
Moody.
Giant?
Kane and Moody.
Don't forget Andre the Giant, eh?
Kane and Moody.
Don't forget Andre
have a
the
cracker.
Giant at 12, eh?
In terms of the Boks selection, interesting that they wrapped that back three in cotton wool. That is the back three for the big games.
So this game is about, does Kane and Moody get the start ahead of Jesse Creel?
Yep, I think so.
I can't believe these people still thinking this is the game for Andre the Giant. Damien Dialandi will always be there, even on one leg.
Mate,
And he was outstanding against Ireland.
don't you think it's
FYI.
crazy that we're going into a World Cup final pool stage match and we're so conditioned with the sideshows? No, we haven't even mentioned that they've got Grant Williams on the wing. That's how used to it we are now.
But you know why they've got Grant Williams on the wing? So if they want to go the 7-1, or alternatively, they pick Grant Williams as a start and they go 8-0.
That'd be amazing.
And then they've got their reserve.
I still like your idea, mate.
Yeah,
Well, you say, let's just start 13 players.
exactly.
Just have an extra 2 guys on the bench, mate.
It will be beautiful. So Boks to win. Be comfortable. Go to SA Rugby Magazine. Check it all out. Check out all the match previews, the match reviews. Go to the Money Man's page. He's on a roll at the moment, okay? And
Can't get it wrong.
he's not getting it wrong at the moment. Go and check it out. You will make money.
You will make money.
Okay? You're not going to make money always from Zels and I, but you're going to have a laugh. You're going to get a bit of insight. And you're going to hear from Ricky, man.
Every once in a while.